Greetings and welcome to ROI Clear. My name is Ray Hightower, and today we are fortunate to have as our guest Ms. Divya Smith. Divya Smith is CEO of Ascending Avenue Investments based in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. She is a real estate investor, a commercial real estate investor, and she has a rich technology background as well. So we're going to connect the dots between those. Listeners, please join me in welcoming Ms. Divya Smith. Welcome, Divya.
Thank you, Ray. It's very nice and very kind of you to have me here today. I can't wait to kind of talk about your journey and my journey as well and share that with the audience today.
That's great. Well, let's talk about our journeys together. That would be wonderful. To start our journey, why don't we kick it off with an elevator pitch? And for those who are new to ROI Clear, Divya is on an elevator with someone she wants to influence. What would you say to that person in the course of an elevator ride?
Absolutely. So I would say, Divya Smith, I recently started a company called Ascending Avenue Investments. It's to help people who are really busy in their day jobs to come and invest in real estate. I myself used to be a really busy professional and did not have enough time for me to go and look for some of these investment opportunities. So my goal is to educate, share, and bring more busy professionals along with me.
Yes. That's a very service-oriented mindset. Clearly, as a real estate investor, you're in a position to profit yourself, but you are also looking at what you can do for others.
I am absolutely doing that. So, Ray, you touched on something that's really dear to my heart. So as part of my journey in technology for 20 years, I really wanted to go back and help people through that journey. Most of the people are early in the career, and we are not really taught that financial education that is required for us to, one, save the right way, and then be able to invest the money the way we should be kind of thinking about for our long-term future. I think a lot of us are shared the information of save 10%, and that should be enough for our 401ks. So my mindset in wanting to kind of share and serve others kind of stems from, one, sharing that financial education. But secondly, I've also had a desire to help more women in technology. And when I did have really busy jobs, it was very difficult for me to kind of find time to do that. So now that I have my own company and can control my own hours, I'm able to not only educate them on financial aspects, but then also be part of other different avenues where I can help them through their career.
Wonderful. And you mentioned something about freedom, controlling your own hours. You mentioned your technology background. There's a lot we're going to unpack there. Why don't we start off by talking about your technology department, your technology background. What did you do in the tech field? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. And then as we move forward, we'll connect the dots between what you did in tech and what you're doing now in real estate investing.
Absolutely. So I grew up in India, in New Delhi. So I moved as a younger kind of person for my undergraduate. And as part of that, of course, as you hear from a lot of people, including, a lot of people of color, I feel, have some sort of kind of that background. Either your options are to be doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. Well, for me, I didn't like the sight of blood. So for me, it was an engineer kind of focus as well. So I started out with that. I started in technology, kind of love being part of technology. I think the part that excited me the most was being able to build, systems and processes and working with people. So I started out as a programmer, my first job. And I was working in corporate America actually when I was 18. So I've been in that journey for 20 years before I kind of made the switch. And in that journey, I worked at Target Technology Services along with United Health Group. I also worked for US Bank and Hilton. So I worked for many big companies, and my role in most of those technology spaces was to kind of lead really large teams. So I started out small, of course, as a programmer and continued to move up through the ranks. And my last role was Senior Director of Technology, where I rolled out virtual care for United Health Group. Really fun role, really exciting role. But I was working a lot of hours. And I think that's kind of where the amount of impact I wanted to make, there's only so many hours in the day I could do it. And so that's kind of where I started to look into other avenues of what potentially could be in other roles.
Yes. Now, when you say you were working a lot of hours, there are 168 hours in a week. How many hours per week were you working roughly at your peak?
Yes, I would say close to between 70 hours. So there were times when I was working 60 to 70 hours. I was launching things, that required 24 months at a time, and I was able to kind of turn this around in 9 to 12 months. All of that comes at a cost, right? So
Yes.
either you're spending that hours with family or work or, in other things that you want to do. I also have two younger children. So between 70 hours of that and kind of with my younger children, I think there just wasn't enough time left for me to do anything else.
Right. Yeah, 60, 70 hours a week. That's a very heavy workload.
Yeah,
And as
absolutely.
you said, you started off as a programmer and then you moved up the ranks into management where you were leading teams and leading large teams. So clearly your leadership skills are on point. In the course of that, when you moved from being technical, well, you were probably technical all the way through, but as you moved upwards in the ranks into management, when did you realize that you were a business leader?
So there were times I was able to see kind of the bigger aspect of kind of business itself, the strategic point of view, the design, what really needed to be done. So I had kind of seen that throughout my career where I was kind of pulled up through my leadership to say, hey, you not only are able to deliver what you need to deliver, but you're giving us the big picture view of what needs to happen and where we
Yes.
can be going. So I think that part has been really fun for me, especially when I have moved from industry. So, if you like the companies I mentioned. So I moved from Target, which is retail, to banking, to healthcare, and then also hospitality. I think a lot of folks would think that's, quite a bit different industries, but I always see patterns. That's just kind of been my personality and ability to kind of envision, there are patterns to everything. And that's maybe the little nerd side in me to kind of spot those patterns.
The little nerd sees patterns. The
That's
little
what
nerd
they
inside of
say.
it sees patterns. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's remarkable because so all of those years from the age of 18 through, when you moved into real estate, you've been building your pattern recognition engine inside of your head.
Absolutely.
That's kind of like
Absolutely.
training your own internal neural net. However, we don't really understand how our brains work. But if our brain has a neural net, you are training your neural net to recognize certain patterns. And you
Absolutely.
recognize technology patterns and you recognize leadership patterns.
Absolutely. I think, Ray, it's one of those interesting things that you mentioned, of course, hindsight is 2020. So going back, even 10 years, I wouldn't have realized this. But like last 3, 4, 5 years, when I've been able to switch industries and make an impact within, first 6 to 9 months at any job, it kind of helped me realize that my superpower is really to look at a problem, identify the patterns, and figure out what are the most critical things that need to be looked at in those spaces.
Look at the problem, identify the pattern, and figure out what you need to do to solve the problem or to resolve the problem.
Yes.
That is a very systematic way of solving problems and moving forward. Now, let's connect the dots a little bit. You've got this technology background, you've got this leadership background, you've developed your pattern recognition engine inside of your brain, putting all of that together. When did you decide that you wanted to move from what you were doing in technology, in corporate America, in multiple industries? When did you decide that you wanted to move from there to what you're doing now, leading a commercial real estate team?
Ray, you are probably the fourth person who asks me that this week. That is a question that I get most often, because going from technology to commercial real estate, it's just kind of a interesting pattern for a lot of people, and there's just a lot of curiosity around it. Couple things I'd share with you. One was, so I love doing my own taxes. Again, I do not recommend people doing that anymore. I think I did that for as many years as I did. And there was this aha moment for me where I wrote a huge, tax bill, basically going back to pay my taxes for the year in addition to what I had already paid. And it kind of had that kind of clarifying moment, 40% of my income is going in taxes. And I'm working 60, 70 hours. So my net income compared to the hours I'm working is not that much. So how hours am I training for the amount of money? So that was one big kind of aha moment for me there.
Right.
The second thing was I had been kind of just looking around on social media and happened to kind of see one of my past person I went to college with actually, and she had kind of quit her corporate job and started in real estate. So I got connected with her just to kind of learn a little bit more about, how was she able to kind of make that change and what were the benefits. So that's kind of where I started to even learn about commercial real estate. And I just found it absolutely fascinating that how much I didn't know and how
Yes.
much of all the peers that I was working with, they didn't understand and know how to build their wealth. So that was the tipping point for me.
You love doing your taxes.
I do. So that's been tough. That's a very, so from all this, if that's what you picked, yes, I think
No, it just jumped out. Everything that you said is spot on and clear and wonderful. It's just it's kind of like the purple cow, Seth Godin's purple cow. If you see a bunch of cows in a pasture and one of them is purple, you're going to remember the purple cow. The purple cow from that exchange was you love doing your taxes. But I do want to explore that a bit, and we're kind of having a little bit of fun with it. But the fact, and you know who else loves doing his taxes? Warren Buffett.
Okay.
Warren Buffett does his own taxes, and that is how he has so many insights in deciding what to invest. And it's remarkable. And so that you're in very good company. If you love doing your taxes, you and Warren Buffett should hang out. Maybe you give him a call. Give Warren a call, say, hey, Warren, this is Divya, let's go do our taxes together or something. Certainly you could do that. But that's wonderful. Yeah. But what I love about that, everything that you said, you love doing your taxes, but you were also in touch with other people that you knew who had, or you said a person that you knew from your school days who moved away from her professional career and moved into commercial real estate. So you saw those patterns. Again, you're recognizing a pattern. Now that I see, the pattern that I see is that throughout your career, your pattern recognition engine is recognizing patterns.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that? Is that a fair statement?
That is absolutely fair to say. And, that is something, like I mentioned, it's very interesting that I can see that now, like the last few years.
Yes.
I did not realize that in first 15 years of my career. So to your point, yes, I went to MBA with a woman, actually, Jenny, who's Vertical Street Ventures. And her and I were in the same class together, and she was a director at P&G, left that job and kind of did it. I was in a similar situation, senior director of technology at United Health Group, and then I took on another role. And, in that space, I just talked with her. There was a lot going on from a financial perspective, family perspective. So parents, just aging parents, taking care of kids, you got busy time, and you realize how precious your time is. Yes. I just was having difficult time kind of trading so much time to then basically be not making as much as I could be because I paid so much taxes. Which I think kind of a lot of us end up realizing that the taxes can really be difficult when you're writing them, and you really just take a moment, like, how am I paying so much? Yet I feel like I'm getting paid, but then I end up paying a lot of that back in taxes.
Yeah. In your case, if you're working 60 hours in a week, 40% at 24 hours out of the week is taxes.
Exactly. I did the net math on dollars. Exactly. So you're kind of seeing the same pattern.
Yeah. That is, we've gone down those paths. And you mentioned Jenny Gu at Vertical Street Ventures. I think very highly of Jenny and VSV. She's a mentor. We're partners together on a couple of deals, with Jenny Gu and Stephen Louis and Kyle Mitchell, all of them, Ronnie Gu, Kiyoshi Simon, all of them over there, wonderful people at VSV. So in fact, that's how we met. We met through Jenny and through the whole VSV crew over there. So wonderful people. So if that is who you saw there, I could see how you could say, wow, look at how Jenny's just blowing up with all of this. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
And the part about Jenny is she's just such a kind and down-to-earth person. And for me, it became less about the fame and more about how can I now take this knowledge and really share it with all the technologists, all the people near and dear to my heart. So, I always kind of give that example where I have a team and we all were 24/7. I was running Target.com, and what on a digital kind of platform, Target.com or Hilton.com, is you are 24/7. You're on 24/7. And a lot of those folks, kind of similar to me, don't even understand or have time to invest into any real estate, or let alone even think about the depreciation benefits that real estate provides. So for me, it was almost like kind of a aha moments, like, I need to take this information back to the people who are really busy working really hard to kind of keep these platforms up and running, but don't have time to, figure out all the details. How can I support them?
Right, right. You have grabbed this knowledge. You've, like, who is it? The character from many years ago from mythology, Prometheus, who grabbed fire from the gods. You grabbed this knowledge on how to, and it's not just about saving money on taxes. We say that, but at the same time, with what we're doing with real estate investment, we're creating homes for people and we're improving homes for people. So it's about service.
Absolutely.
You're serving the investors, the people that you know in corporate America. You're serving them by giving them a chance to, save some money on taxes and that type of thing. And at the same time, you and your team, when you acquire properties, you're going in and you're improving them and giving people better places to live.
Absolutely. So Ray, that you bring up a great example. So our latest property that we acquired, we just started the CapEx project on it, but that's exactly what we do is
yes.
The rent increase really is not that much. You may increase $150 on a rent, but the amount of value you get, people are who they are in the environment they are in. So
yes.
the energy, the vibe, just a freshly coat of paint, updated floors, updated kitchens. People are living there day in, day out, 24/7.
Right.
The energy that pumps into their environment to then help them lead better lives, it's incredible to watch. And I've heard from these people directly, and I'm sure you have. And I think it's just wonderful to see that, for the little like razor kind of thin increase in rents, they're able to kind of experience it, and we're able to deliver that value. So it really is that, win-win situation that you don't find in many other business solutions.
Yes. This would be a good time for you to tell us about that deal. You're clearly very excited about it, about the service that you're offering. So tell us about this property. If you feel comfortable sharing with us about it, please do.
Yes, absolutely. So we recently closed a property in Texas. I wouldn't go into any more details than that. We are just waiting to close PPM on it. But we started working, the CapEx on it, and we have updated some of the units. The units, require some of the standard upgrades, including, tiling the kitchen, kind of having updated floors, newer appliances, and then also kind of new countertops. So all of that kind of really makes the living room kind of an open, clean, sleek look environment. And then also new coat of paint. So all of that really does provide that updated feel to all the residents. This property also could use, some of the minor updates around the surroundings. So updated pool, little amenities. So really kind of brings that energy and vibe, where people are proud of where they're living.
Yes, yes.
End of the day, you want to be happy. You just want to feel joyful of where you're living.
Yeah, you want to feel joyful. That takes us to the next thing I want to ask you about. Yeah, you're creating joy for your residents. At the same time, one of the things that I know about you, because you're a business leader and you lead large teams, you probably built a team to do this deal. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the team that you put together to execute this deal?
Absolutely. So one of the things that early on, along with all the sponsors, we talked about is being very clear about roles and responsibilities. So one of the things that carries with me, and funny you had mentioned Stephen Louie, because him and I joke all the time about it, is, you can take an executive out of corporate America, but you can't take the corporate America that's still, within us because of all the organization skills.
Yes.
So that still does exist in us. So, first and foremost thing that we ended up kind of thinking about it, what are the clear roles and responsibilities of each of the partners in the team? And we all lead with our strengths.
Yes.
We didn't leave corporate America to then come do things we don't enjoy. So I think one of the things that I absolutely love in this space is the question, the willingness of everybody taking a moment and understanding what are your strengths, what you do, and really working with your partners to kind of figure that out. So we had clear roles kind of defined. Who's going to be managing investor relations? Who's going to be managing the CapEx project? Who's going to be reviewing financials day in, day out, along with like the monthly reports that are sent? Who's going to be managing the accounts and the services within the apartment building itself, and any, the total of revenue and expenses going in and out. So kind of that big picture financials. So it's been a really kind of fun project where we have kind of taken ownership of different portions, and then we start to run with it. We do come together as a team, and then we talk about, are there any concerns? Are there things we need to do? And we are in that initial phase of really getting things, turned around at this building, because as you know, when you acquire a new property, there are just certain things you got to fix. There's just maybe delinquent rents that you need to clean up. There may be just some processes that need to be cleaned up. So we're going through that now.
Yeah, there are always some surprises.
Yeah. Always.
Okay. Yep. Wonderful. Now, when you're building this team, you mentioned looking at strengths and skills and roles and putting the right people into different roles. Can you unpack that for us a little bit? Are there certain tools that you use when you're looking at a person and deciding what role they will fit in, or how do you do that? What are some tools that you'd use when you're doing that, when you're building your team and when you're looking at strengths and weaknesses and roles?
Yes, absolutely. And Ray, you make a good point. I think one of the things, and I know you'll agree with this, is when we make that shift, there's a lot of self-awareness that needs to happen. And, one of the things that I look very closely when I am picking out partners is how self-aware they are of what they like to do and what their strengths are.
Yes.
So, in that initial interaction, I think it's really important to understand, has that person kind of gone through that journey of self-awareness and identifying their strengths, or are they just ready to make a deal? Because there's a lot of people who just want to get a deal. So for me, it's always a balance that you need to be critical about your own strengths, and then also be very clear, hey, this is what I'm not good at, and this is where I'm going to different partners. So having that conversation has been really important with each of the partners.
You are an observer of human behavior.
I think that's part of the leadership, don't you think? So as I kind of go through, having teams of 20, 40 people at times, that just becomes really clear. People have different strengths. The interesting thing I find is people will say things verbally, but they may mean differently. So just kind of taking a moment to really realize, do they really mean what they said, or they think they want to be that way? So that's what they're projecting, but in reality, this is what they are. So I think kind of figuring that out has been part of my roles so far, to be able to kind of deliver things quickly.
Yes. And I would imagine that there are times when you're speaking to someone about their strengths, weaknesses, roles, or whether or not they're self-aware. As you're listening to them, you're also evaluating whether they're telling the truth to themselves. That's part of self-awareness. That's a big component of self-awareness, certainly.
100%. You couldn't have said it better. You said it perfect. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, you come into the commercial real estate investment business with all of this experience, all of the leadership experience, the tech experience, the knowledge of human nature, the knowledge of human behavior. You know how to build teams. And then there's some things that you need to learn as you enter the real estate business. What are some of the things that you needed to learn first as you entered the real estate investment business, and how did you go about learning those things?
Absolutely. Great question, Ray. So the journey started for me kind of joining a small mastermind. So I also, part of that self-awareness, there's plenty of masterminds available. There's some really large ones and there's smaller ones. For me, it was important to kind of work with people who connect with me from a values perspective. So I'm a very much a value-driven person. So for me, that's kind of what attracted me to Vertical Street, is because they had very similar values. They all had, it wasn't revenue-driven. It was value. How can we make a community impact? So that's kind of what kind of started to draw me into them. From a knowledge perspective, I think the big thing is understanding those patterns, right? So we talked about like the key roles. What are the key roles and what do they do? And also kind of sequencing your learning. So to give an example of that, real estate, coming into this space, there's quite a few things you could spend your time learning. For example, I could immerse myself in learning all different types of loans and different possibility of, very interesting way of financing. That could be something I could immerse myself in. There's also a possibility of me just spending time with brokers. Kind of finding the deals and just, hanging out and kind of like taking time to do that. And there's also, folks who just spend time on underwriting. So I think my background kind of in seeing this pattern and understanding, you need to give time to each one, but at a certain point to give more time to one and less time to the other. And figure out what is the right time for each one. So for me, that's been beneficial. So I started out with learning the overall basics, What are the key roles? Then kind of going down to figuring out, okay, what is the initial thing that will help me get started? And then how can I now share this information and knowledge that I'm learning with all the audience that I have and all
Right.
the investors that I have. So that's kind of the path I've taken. And then every day I'm learning something new, something different, just like yourself. And
Yes.
I feel like in this space, there's just so much to learn and so many new things coming out. Even staying up to date on the market can be, quite a bit of work. So focusing your energy on the right things, I think that's a weekly prioritization game for me.
Yes. Yeah. Choosing where to focus your time. Yeah. Because we have a limited amount of time. And you didn't leave an environment where you were working 60 or 70 hours a week to come to a new environment where you're working 60 or 70 hours a week.
Right. Exactly.
That's not what you did. And I like the way you broke down the learning. You looked at loans, you looked at brokerage, you looked at underwriting, and there's so many other facets. There's asset management, there's property management, there's mechanical systems, there's other financial systems, all of that, many other areas.
Many other years. Absolutely.
Yeah. Of all of those, where would you say you specialize? Are you an asset manager, a capital raiser, an acquisitions person? Where would you say is your focus?
So so there's just the way I kind of work. So the pattern I see for me to get started is from the capital raising investor relations.
Yes.
I really like bringing that content, that knowledge, that information to all the investors. With my background, I also like to kind of take a big picture view. So even the role that I have with the newest property we acquired, I kind of play that big picture role. I ask questions here and there and just kind of make sure that overall it's, all the pieces are fitting.
Yes.
But my second phase to this is going to be, asset manager. So that's kind of where I'm headed. But I think for first year, 18 months, as I've been, continue to focus on the investor relation piece of it.
Right. Investor relations, got to have the money in order to do the deal.
Absolutely.
At
Absolutely.
the same time, they only trust you to give you the money if they know the assets managed properly.
Correct. So that's where you need to partner with the right people who have the right experience to kind of help you along in that process and finding the right partner. We talked about all the different things you got to look for them to kind of figure out the right partners.
Yes. Fascinating. Wow. We're coming towards the end. You have a lot going on, and clearly you're a big picture person. You're a big picture person who asks questions to determine that everyone is on track and to make sure that all the pieces are fitting together, as you put it. What's next for you? What's next for you and your company? What vision do you have in mind?
So for me, the vision for this year, next year is, to continue to bring these incredible deals to investors, to people who are just really busy, at least 2 or 3 deals a year, and then kind of continue to build from that. Also, my main focus through all this is how many people can I touch? How many people can I help? So I love the quote, I know there's a quote where it says, leave places cleaner or better than you found them.
Yes.
I take it to a different meaning and I say, leave every person better than the mood you found them in. So if that means if I'm having an interaction with you and this conversation sparked, some happiness, some joy, some interest, some spark of energy, that's my goal. So every conversation, every interaction I have, I'm going to help people. And that's really the vision. And that's kind of what I lead with. Whether investors invest with me or not, that's really not the goal. But how can I help people feel better about themselves, help them along the way, gain some knowledge, and then they're in a position and mental state to make better decisions for themselves.
Wonderful. With every interaction, you want to help people.
With every interaction.
Powerful.
Leave them better than you found them.
Yes, yeah. We say that I'm active in the Boy Scouts, and that's what we do. Whenever we come to a campsite and when we're leaving, we always want to leave the campsite better than it was when we got there. So yeah, I love that philosophy. I love that.
Yes.
As we wrap up, let me ask you, what are you reading now? What are you listening to right now? What are you doing to continue sharpening your saw and improving your skills in this area?
Yes, absolutely. So from a podcast perspective, I have about 2 or 3 different ones I like to go in between. So if you've heard of, Jim Quick, he has a 10 to 15 minute podcast just to sharpen your brain. I love kind of listening to that as just quick little trips to kind of get better at what you're doing. From a real estate perspective, I do really like the real estate, guys. I think they put on wonderful content. I have backlog of about 80 of them, so I am continuing to kind of listen to because they have over 200 episodes out there.
Yes.
So that's another space that I am kind of reading and listening to those podcasts. From the books, one of the ones I keep going back to, I just think there's so much potential for this book to keep coming back and be shared with people, is Atomic Habits. Just little things here and there, just focusing on that. And the other one that I'm using to kind of write my own company goals is the 12-week year. I think that's a phenomenal book as well. So that's been really helpful.
Wonderful. We'll make sure we include those in our show notes. Divya Smith, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today here on the ROI Clear podcast. It's been wonderful. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Ray. It's been great talking to you.